Hello friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It's a nice spring day. I hope you're enjoying your day. It's the birds are chirping, the flowers are blooming, the trees are, oh man, I love this time of year. I hope you're enjoying your day. So today I wanted to take a few moments to talk about an issue that I think is a significant concern to a lot of injured workers. I got a lot of feedback from clients over the years and members of WSIB settlements and from viewers and subscribers of this channel. And so I want to talk about my observations as to the whole aspect of work reintegration. I understand, I think we all know what it's supposed to be, but I think the WSIB in some ways has made it a little more nefarious. Using it as a tool to really put injured workers in a position where they have limited choices in terms of what they can do as far as return to work is concerned after an injury, and kind of get painted into a corner. And there are several topics that I want to cover within work reintegration that I think can be helpful for some of you. So we know that work reintegration was created by the WSIB to assist workers in returning to work after an injury. And whether that return to work is with their pre-accident employer in their pre-accident job, or whether it's with their pre-accident employer in their pre-accident job with accommodations. If you have a permanent impairment, then those would have to be permanent accommodations. Or whether it was some other job with the accident employer, or they had to consider the prospect of finding a job with a different employer, and that could involve retraining. So the WSIB has the resources and the programs in place to be able to do this effectively and help injured workers. But the tribunal is fielding a lot of issues relating to work reintegration. Just a tremendous amount of cases that they need to review and adjudicate and decide on. And when I do my research to obviously create better programs, better tools for our members at WSIB settlements, I want to be able to share those with you as well so they can be helpful for you. And it's become a real problem. So the first one is, you look at the appeal deadline when it comes to return to work. It's 30 days from the date that a decision is made. In any other situation, all other decisions pertaining to any other matter in a claim, it's 6 months. But with return to work services, it's 30 days. Here's the problem with that. You want to cooperate, you want to do everything you can to get back to work in a job that's suitable within your restrictions, and but you have some reservations. Your doctor maybe is saying that it's probably going to be difficult, or you shouldn't be returning to work yet. And we all see the WSIB overrule family doctors all the time, and other specialists. So the problem is, if you don't appeal a decision that was made within 30 days, and you go into a return to work situation, and there's a plan developed with a return to work specialist, and the plan can be anywhere from a month to 6 months to a couple of years if it involves retraining. How do you know if the program is going to be successful to be able to appeal that decision within 30 days? It's a problem. I mean, you can't look into the future. I know the WSIB looks into their crystal ball all the time when they're deeming all kinds of shit that they do. You know that. But how are you supposed to know that? So sometimes the will to cooperate, even though you may not necessarily be ready, and if you're being threatened by the WSIB that they're going to reduce or eliminate your benefits, if you don't cooperate. These are tactics that they use to push you. And a lot of times they get what they want, which is to get you involved in a plan, whatever plan. And then once you're in it, 30 days have gone by, you're screwed. You can't appeal that decision. That's a problem. Why isn't it 6 months? Like the time limit for all of the other decisions, whether it's to pay loss of earnings, to accept a certain area of entitlement, to recalculate your earnings, to do a long-term or short-term recalculation. There's all sorts of decisions that they make that the appeal time limit is 6 months. And in this one, which is more crucial because there is so much uncertainty at play, they give you 30 days. It's awful. So you then have to decide, how do I do what they're wanting me to do, and in a lot of cases pushing me to do, and protect myself at the same time. And so there's a way to do that, and I'll get back to that in a moment. There are flaws in the return to work process. There are a lot of factors and variables that may come into play. And a lot of it has to do with your permanent impairment resulting from your injury and restrictions resulting from that permanent impairment. And then considering your skills, your experiences, work experiences, and taking all of that into consideration and coming up with a plan. But there's all sorts of variables. And these things aren't done in 30 days. Not in the real world. They're not. But they push you for a reason. And I'll tell you why. Because you're on the clock. From the day that your claim is open or active with the WSIB, you're on the clock. It's called the 72-month clock. And every year they review your benefits and your earnings to make adjustments to those earnings. But they're looking ahead at the 72 months because that's the date that legally legislators have put into the Act, the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, wherein when the 72-month review is up, the WSIB conducts the review, and you've heard me talk about this in one of my prior videos, and they need to start the review process 6 months before the date is up, and then lock your loss of earnings in until you are 65. But they've given themselves this little out, and that is that they can defer that review for up to 2 years. If you're involved in a return to work plan that hasn't yet been completed. So from the day that your claim starts, you're on the clock. And by being on the clock, that means that they will do everything they can, including making a determination regarding maximum medical recovery, which is something I covered in a video 2 or 3 videos ago. If you haven't watched that one, you need to go watch it. Because these are all strategies that are used not necessarily to help you. You're on the clock. And these strategies are used to keep pushing you forward and to push you off of benefits. The sooner the better. So they're going to try to expedite everything. Coming up with a suitable occupation that may or may not be adequate. I was dealing with a case actually very recently. I reviewed a tribunal decision in the case, and they put this guy into an accounting job or a retraining program. Okay, 2-year program in college. He finished high school at 17, barely scraped by with his marks, didn't get any other training or education. He went right into construction, working in the construction industry. And after 27 years of doing that job, somehow they thought they're going to make an accountant out of this guy. Really? Of course, the tribunal knocked it down, sent it back and said, you know what, come on, you can do better than this. There's no way that this guy was ever going to become an accountant. But that's what they do. They will push you. They will concoct the most ridiculous of scenarios to keep you moving within that clock to get you off the benefits. And it's awful. I think that it is a good program that has been used for nefarious reasons. And a lot of injured workers get caught up in this and they don't know how to protect themselves. So we put together a letter. It's available at WSIBsettlements.com. Our members can download it on their app and send it in. And it's very simple, the letter. It basically gives you some protection so that you're able to address this issue in the event that things don't work out with return to work and work reintegration. You have to be able to have an out, something to fall back on. Otherwise, you're going to find yourselves 2-3 years down the road, and if you haven't appealed, you're screwed. And you may be out of a job at the same time. Injured, with permanent restrictions, out of a job, or with a small LOE that somehow they figured that they could deem that you were able to do something. We all know about the deeming practices too. So basically, I want to share this with you as well. So I'm going to put it up on the screen. And basically, you just draft this letter. The whole letter is actually ready for our members. They just go on and within 60 seconds, it's there and ready to upload to the WSIB. But here's the primary, this is the actual significant wording, the important aspects of this letter. And this is, please accept this letter as my intent to object to the appropriateness and suitability of work reintegration services. Although I am willing to cooperate as much as possible in return to work services, and the effects of my compensable injury permit me to do so, I want to reserve my right to appeal should it be necessary. I'm writing this letter to protect my interest should I need to proceed with an appeal of a return to work related matter, and the 30-day appeal time limit requirement to make an appeal relating to return to work matters has lapsed. This letter should not be misconstrued as a lack of cooperation on my part, and please confirm receipt of this letter in writing. So you want to get that. You want to get confirmation in writing that they've basically received the letter. It's on your file, so that if you need to appeal the appropriateness of the return to work services or plan that was put together, you have that to fall back on, because you can't trust these people. In my experience of over 30 years of dealing with the WSIB, thousands of cases that I handled and my paralegals working for me at. Over 30 years. This is my explaining to you and giving you tools based on my experience that work so that you can protect yourself. All right, friends, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please share my video with others, because there's a lot of people out there in this province who need help, and I want to make sure that we can reach all of them. If you need help with your WSIB claim, we handle everything dealing with WSIB. Visit my company, WSIBsettlements.com, and see if there's something there for you. And I'm also going to leave you with the tip of the day, which I think is very important and very appropriate within this topic, and that is Mr. Smiley's tip of the day. Keep a journal of all your return to work activities and include details such as meetings, what was discussed, and expressed outcomes. I know it may take some time to do that. I know it takes a lot of discipline, but do that. Make notes, what was discussed, what were the expectations, what was the date, who was present, and for everything that happens in your claim dealing with return to work, keep this journal so that if you find yourself at the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal and you have to argue your case that the program was inadequate and the WSIB wouldn't listen, or wouldn't help you to create a program that is more appropriate, the tribunal will deal with it because they're dealing with a lot of this garbage that's coming out of the WSIB. All right, friends, as always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And until the next one, take care.